Hey guys, welcome to Three's a Podcast. We have Matt and Evan with us. Evan's going to be heading a topic about
And crazy mode.
hypnosis and crazy mode. Yeah, that's your brother, right? So
Yep.
everybody else knows. Okay. Um, so, Evan, what is the process of hypnosis?
Well, the process of hypnosis is essentially being deliberately guided through well, guided into trance and in and out of trance. Um, there are different, of course, different levels of trance
Mm-hmm.
that the average human goes in and out of on a daily basis. But hypnosis is the deliberate guiding of that.
Of your trance state?
Yes.
Okay.
And actually, through a good hypnotist, you're actually able to go deeper than what you would find in a natural trance state.
Okay, so go deeper than or how deep you would go if you were like meditating or something like that. Correct? Is that what you're implying?
Yeah, a lot of your guided meditations are pretty close to just regular hypnosis. Um, the visualizations are a little different sometimes, and the purpose is usually a little bit different. But overall, a lot of times, your average guided meditation is, I guess, drawing you into a lighter trance than what you get with an hypnosis.
Okay, and I'm curious. Um, I don't know how to basically. I'm not sure exactly how to get this out, but hypnosis is like, or the trance that you can get with hypnosis. Is it always like you can't just do that by yourself, right? It's always have to be, or it always has to be done by, I guess not by another person, but you have to have another person like with you or something like that. Or how
Um,
go ahead.
there is self hypnosis, which involves you instilling a suggestion to yourself as you go through it's a process similar to meditation, but it involves a center point of focus and you drawing yourself deeper into a trance with a preconceived suggestion already decided, as opposed to somebody else guiding you through those suggestions.
Okay. Okay, I think
So, how did Evan? Didn't you get into hypnosis at like some really young age, just by virtue of like reading through some of your dad's magic books and stuff? Because like hypnosis is linked pretty closely to magic, basically.
Yeah, my first encounter with hypnosis was stage hypnosis. It was a show that I saw when I was about 11 or 12 years old.
Banachek.
No, this is actually a guy that goes to the local state fair every year. He's had a he's been doing it for as long as
Oh yeah, I've heard people talk
yeah.
about being hypnotized by.
Well,
He does it
well,
at the Ren fairs too, doesn't he?
I believe so. I'm actually not extremely familiar with the guy. He was just kind of the guy that introduced me to it. Like it was the first show that I saw. But anyway, yeah, that guy's been on staff there for several years. But what I saw when I saw him go through that whole process was really the potential for what hypnosis could be if you could alter your subconscious mind um, to be able to perceive something differently or I guess change your understanding. It wasn't really as complex as that. But the more I studied it at a younger age, the more I realized the potential for what I guess I did see therapeutic applications to it, and that was kind of what fascinated me. And that was actually before I actually started studying anything involving hypnotherapy. So that was kind of how the whole journey started. Um, but no, I mean since then I studied figures, which you'll probably hear me talk about these guys a little bit more later tonight, is a guy named Orman McGill, who's considered to basically be the grandfather of all stage hypnosis. He was one of the most skilled stage hypnotists in the world. And another guy I study whenever I got into hypnotherapy has been a man by the name of David Snyder, who is one of the most skilled people, I think, in the hypnotherapy industry, at least in my opinion.
So his name was
What's
David
the
Snyder?
Yeah, David Snyder, he runs NLP Power, and
Okay.
he's got a lot of stuff on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
He actually is the guy that I got the spinning technique and a lot of the state control and energy stuff that I teach. And he's actually got 3 4 hour classes available free on his channel. If you guys want to go check him out later. But I guess I'll plug him, considering I rarely ever have time to sit down and break down a lot of these
Right.
skills as thoroughly as he does. But um, I think something that a lot of people question is, is hypnosis real? And which I understand the skeptics, because it's very easy to bring somebody on stage
Mm-hmm.
and, of course, pay them off and have them pretend that they're in a trance. The issue with that is, if you followed a hypnotist around, you would see probably different people on the stage just about every time you were to see the guy. But even more than that, you have an entire practice of hypnotherapists, which I guess you could try to say they're about as valid as your average energy healer. But there are people that swear by it. People that have quit smoking and they've had help with weight loss and other various issues, trauma relief.
Mm-hmm.
They've gone back and they've confronted trauma through certain hypnotic exercises. I guess you'd call it an exercise.
maybe we should reel back a little bit in the broader scope of hypnosis, because and we're talking more specifically about hypnotherapy. But as far as people questioning hypnosis,
Mm-hmm.
I think we should probably point out the difference between movies and stuff like that. Because, well, first of all, obviously everyone knows I'm kind of resident skeptic on the show, um, unfortunately or unfortunately. But and hypnosis, off the bat, might seem like something that would be bullshitty. Um, but I think and so initially I was first skeptical about it, because I was like, okay, but I had the same issue where I had my initial thing is, well, there's a lot of people lying if this is fake, because there's these guys who do these hypnosis shows and they'll hypnotize crowds of they'll hypnotize like 10 people at once. I'm like, are all these people just faking it? I'm like, this can't be true. The other thing was magicians. Most magicians are skeptics because they know how you can trick people easily. Um, so when you start seeing these really skeptical magicians who know how to do it, then I realized that this was actually a legit thing where you basically tap into someone's subconscious. Um, I would say this, though. I know that one of the main things that they get wrong a lot of times in movies and things like that with hypnosis is they portray it like you could, like the classic vampire thing.
Mm-hmm.
You hypnotize someone and they do your bidding.
Right.
Nobody who's hypnotized will do anything they don't want to do, basically.
Really?
I know that's like a hard rule. Yeah, you can't like hypnotize someone to you know, do the sex with you or something. Like if basically, as far as I understand, like you're still conscious. It's not like you're just possessing someone. So you're only going to do things you're susceptible to doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your person. Let me put it this way. There is a level of consciousness within your mind where You have your subconscious, which is what you're accessing with hypnosis, and then you have your conscious mind. When you go under, you are conscious usually that you're in trance, and you may not be conscious of how deep you are, but you know that you're there, and you hear all the suggestions. When you're speaking to someone who's under hypnosis, you're speaking to their subconscious mind, and they are consciously allowing themselves to, I guess, play out what the suggestion is. In stage hypnosis, it could be something as simple as your belly button just fell off, or every time I turn around, my entire back half is naked. And if they're in the right state of trance, they will perceive exactly that. On the other hand, there are some people that are there are some people unable to be hypnotized, or they have to be hypnotized in certain conditions. In fact, a lot of stage hypnotists will say, the reason they bring 15 to 20 people on stage is because they're not all going to go under. Some are going to wake up in the middle, some are going to never go under at all. And being hypnotized, in my opinion, is actually kind of a skill in and of itself.
Okay.
Because early on, I was unable to be hypnotized, and it took me several years of practicing to be able to get into the trance states that I wanted to be in whenever I was working with the hypnotist. So,
Does that have to do with? It's been a while since I've looked much into hypnosis. For a little while, I got into it, but if you're someone if someone can't be hypnotized, there's a certain amount of willingness, right? Like if you were trying to hypnotize someone and they were like, "You're not going to hypnotize me," you're probably not less likely to hypnotize them, right? Because there's a certain amount of they have to be kind of susceptible to it.
yeah, they're not going to go into a deep trance, I guess you could say like a Hollywood level trance, like we were discussing earlier, or what you see on stage. There is conversational hypnosis where you can throw them into a light trance, and that's just kind of tricking their mind with different verbally. You kind of confuse their subconscious, and they'll go into a light trance.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
But they won't go. They're not going to go under enough for you to be able to get them to do extreme things, or you can make them think or picture certain things in their mind. But a lot of that is, I don't know. It's conversationally. It's more like verbal tricks that you're using on. Now, someone who's unwilling to go under, yeah, for hypnotherapy or for stage hypnosis, yeah, because the entire idea behind it anyway is giving somebody an experience that they want to have. Bare minimum, whether they're up on a stage or they're in a clinic trying to have trauma relief.
Now you were saying, Evan, that you had trouble being hypnotized, even though you were willing or wanting to. So what was the blockage there? Does it just have to do with someone's kind of like the way someone's brain works, or is it a physical biological thing?
Well, I personally think my ADD had something to do with it, but difficulty to be able to. I was following the instructions too strenuously instead of letting it free flow and just experiencing it. Because a lot of times you go into an induction and they're putting you through a visualization and certain steps they want you to do mentally as you bring yourself down deeper into a trance. And I would try to rigidly follow the instructions, and I was focused so much on the instructions I didn't get the experience.
Okay, that makes sense.
Another common issue is what if they're a hypnotist, you call it hypnotist disease. If it's a regular person, you call it smart person syndrome. And it's where a person hangs out and tries to observe and experience at the same time, and they don't get the full benefit because they can't go under observing it as opposed to experiencing it.
Yeah, they're thinking too much about it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I've never been hypnotized either, and I've tried to do self hypnotism, and it's kind of difficult.
Well, I'd say most of a lot of the stuff that I do on a regular basis is actually some pre-recorded stuff. Some people have trouble with that. They need a live hypnotist. I mean, your subconscious mind is so unique to you. There could be any number of solutions to an issue you're having, trying to go under. And I do also, I'm not saying everybody can be. I think there are still people that they just don't get the right benefits from it for whatever reason, or they're just not really able to get with it and go under.
What kind of states can you have being hypnotized? Is there okay? It's gonna sound a little weird, but I was watching Monk. You ever seen that before?
Yeah, the sitcom.
Well, it's not a sitcom, but it's it's a TV show about this detective, and so there's one episode where he does get hypnotized, and the state he's most happiest at is a state where he's like 8 years old, and so I was curious if that would be possible to be, you know, the state of an 8-year-old basically.
That's actually a very interesting question. You can. There's actually a type of hypnotherapy called age regression therapy.
Oh,
Not
really?
to be confused with past life regression. I'll get into that later.
Okay.
But age regression therapy, when you can take somebody under, and you want to take a particular issue they have with their life, and you want to take them back to the first time they experienced it.
Okay.
And a lot of people say, "Oh, well, when I was 15, this happened to me, or somebody said this," or
Mm-hmm.
I got pants in the hall when I was embarrassed,
Right.
or I didn't feel good enough for this. And you put them under, and they go back to 5 years old, because you're like, go back to the first time this happened, and their subconscious draws them back.
Okay.
And in the sessions I've observed, they will actually adopt these speech patterns and speak very similarly to same grammar, but to the person they were back then. I mean, they'll start talking like a kid, and you'll ask them, "Where are you? How old do you think you are? And you make these different observations,
Right.
and you ask them what's going on."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, and you could revert somebody back to being 8 and probably put them in almost a waking state, like what you would see on stage.
Right.
And
Okay.
that suggestion would carry on for just however long they allowed themselves to, or until you brought them out of it. So yeah, I mean, it's very possible to revert people back to a certain age, or I mean, there are people that are even they get turned into a cat for a couple hours, or an animal.
Mm-hmm.
And they for some reason will behave and believe they're that animal.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Damn.
So how does hypnotherapy work as far as, let's say it's session 1, you're sitting down with a client, what would that process look like?
Well, the first thing you're going to ask them is what they want to fix. Because typically, if you come in for hypnotherapy, there's something in your subconscious that you haven't been able to fix otherwise. It just tends to be a last resort for a lot of people.
Let's say, for the sake of example, let's say I'm trying to quit smoking or something like that, and I've tried everything. I've tried the patches, I've tried cold turkey, and I just can't quit smoking. I just smoke every time I'm stressed out.
Well, what you generally would do is you would take them back and try to change their subconscious association with the cigarettes or cigars, whatever medium they're using for that addiction. Try to make it disgusting to them, or change how they feel about it, or what their connection is to it. Or find out the root cause of why they started in the first place. Because sometimes it could actually be an emotional issue.
Wow.
If they change the association and they keep going back to it, there's probably a deeper emotional or root issue that probably needs to be dealt with. Sometimes in addition to the fact that they're already addicted, but
So when you say make something disgusting to him, can you basically hypnotize someone, put them under, and then have like, for instance, a cigarette? Just associate that with like something like tasting terrible. So like the idea of them putting a cigarette in their mouth is just like disgusting.
Uh, Basically, you're telling their subconscious how disgusting it is and how they don't need it, and
Wow.
how unfulfilling it is. You know this feels so unfulfilling to you, you don't want to do it anymore.
So this might be off a little bit off the subject, not entirely, but I'm just kind of curious about it. How, as far as hypnosis, can you, because you're kind of you're kind of restitching someone's self-conscious a little bit. How long does that last? Does that just last perpetually until someone, has has therapy, another therapy session or something? Like I know a lot of times there's like words and stuff that will break the hypnosis, but let's say we do a couple sessions and you slowly over time kind of are using this hypnotherapy so that cigarettes are absolutely disgusting to me and I quit cigarettes. Is that just going to be a thing where forever cigarettes are going to be disgusting to me?
More than likely, there have been cases where people have gone back to smoking. Uh, but it'll be after sometimes they quit like 6, 7 years, and then they go back and have a cigarette and they're hooked again. So the chemical addiction doesn't really change; it's the subconscious feeling about it.
Wow.
And you're typically, for smoking specifically, or like smoking and weight loss, those are all kind of in the same category. You're going through multiple
Mm-hmm.
sessions, and you're having your subconscious directly spoken to, and that's kind of that repetition is kind of what makes it solid. Because as we're growing up as children, we actually have things implanted in our subconscious, certain beliefs that stick with some people throughout their entire lives that you don't even realize until you have a moment of epiphany, or you go to a therapist or someone reveals it to you. And that's kind of similar to what you're doing with the cigarettes. You're going back to that belief or that feeling, and you're doing your best to shift that.
Interesting.
Now, as far as with stage hypnosis, those suggestions typically aren't going to last as long, because what you have is you have a trigger, and you have them coming out and they're performing some sort of suggestion that you give it on, some sort of action. Or most stage hypnotists will bring them out of it, but eventually, usually suggestions like that end up just breaking down over time anyway. And I mean, the great thing is there's a lot of stuff that you can go back and change later with another hypnotist. Um, I'm not recommending that you start this whole identity by design and go around shifting things every other week. Even if you could afford it, you know, at a certain point that could probably actually cause some issues. Um, and there actually are some forms of hypnosis that are harmful.
Like
That
what?
Well, I've actually seen this in a lot of forums lately, and I think it's dangerous. It's a form of erotic hypnosis called sissification.
Called what?
It's called sissification, and it's these guys that are getting this really abusive hypnosis given to them, where they turn themselves basically into these like submissive sex slaves. It's a really out there fetish.
Is this a porn thing?
Well, sissification is part of the whole S&M scene.
Right.
So it's not specific to hypnosis, but the hypnosis form of it can actually cause trauma. It can actually start affecting your everyday life.
Okay. Because I keep seeing that within the sort of porn realm of cis guys or something, and I thought it had to do something with transgender stuff, but it's just like some kind of mental state or what? I don't know if we
Yeah,
want to get into it. It might be too graphic, but
well,
it's pretty disgusting.
it's a kink similar to DDLG,
To what?
Daddy Dom Little Girl.
Oh,
So, well,
Wait a minute. Why? Why were you like disappointed with that answer?
I wasn't disappointed. I was just like, oh yeah, I know what that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
well, it's just the issue is you're taking something that is already somewhat of an abuse fetish, and you're having that drilled into someone in your subconscious mind.
Okay.
So as opposed to it being external to you, you're having it brought internally into the deepest recesses of your mind, trying to become this person that you have a fetish to be. It, it I mean that it's just I don't know, to me it's obviously harmful. There's a lot of other people that do well. It just sounds like fun, but it really I've seen posts and forums online of people that have had issues in their everyday life because of it, because of the way their subconscious works now. And I've seen hypnotherapists warning about it. And to me, it doesn't sound like a good idea. Anyway, I don't know why anybody would take it that far unless they've already got some sort of mental issues.
Right.
Right.
There's a lot of S&M and sex slave stuff that goes on
Mm-hmm.
in the hypnosis community lately. And I'm all for erotic hypnosis. I always say that hypnosis can make you do everything from quitting smoking to having an orgasm. But when you take it to the point where you basically harmful abusive sex fetishes or masochism, or it's like you're like, oh, you're a piece of shit. You're under
Right.
hypnosis, and some guy's repeatedly telling you're a dirty piece of shit, and you need to do all kinds of you know ridiculous, demeaning sex acts. That's not something that you're consciously perceiving. That's in your subconscious mind. That's
Yeah.
becoming part of your identity.
Right.
And it's the same thing with bimbofication. Which I shouldn't know all these words, but
Wait a minute. Bimbofication?
it's the same thing with women, where it's a female mindless sex slave.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like socially that one would be more frowned upon.
Well, I'm not talking about the majority either. I'm just saying that these pockets exist.
Okay, well, to zoom out of the deprived area we're getting into slightly, the point you're kind of making is that there's actually harmful versions of hypnosis where you can actually.
Yeah. Yes. While you can't be given suggestions to do things you don't want to do, if you're heading down a harmful path and you're having that reinforced under hypnosis, it will make the issue worse because you've already accepted it and you're just accepting more and more of this harmful, just these harmful thoughts or this harmful mindset.
Wow.
I didn't mean to get too graphic about the sex stuff, but
No, it's cool. It's cool.
I was just thinking it'd actually be kind of cool to do a like Three's a Podcast video exclusive where we see if we can get Ty to be sissified. Would you do it for video, Ty?
No, absolutely not.
Not even for the sake of the podcast?
Nope.
All right, well.
It actually, it might be fun to go back on this and actually do see what a real hypnosis thing is like, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, maybe sometime in the future, I don't want to jump the gun too soon, but I know we're in talks of hopefully being able to do podcast live.
Mm-hmm.
We could actually we could revisit hypnosis and actually have Evan put you under a trance. And
yeah,
I could just describe the whole thing.
Yeah, that's actually what I meant. So I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. I guess I've only got 2 more topics I really want to cover. I guess I'll let it go. Dismiss the class that's so lovingly decided to grace this podcast. But I mentioned earlier, and I kind of have to get to it now. When I mentioned past life regression,
Mm-hmm.
And it is a very popular topic online among the New Age community, where you are supposedly taken back to not a previous time in your life, but you're taken to a past life, a past incarnation of yourself. And I can tell you right now, there's no scientific basis, which I feel should be obvious for a lot of people listening, but and I think
Okay, wait.
basically what you're.
I have to say, you're taken to a past life, but I feel like that's based on the belief that what do you call it? Having reincarnation is true. So that's really strange.
It's kind of there's kind of gets into that new age kind of hippy dippy area, right?
They call it past life regression therapy.
Okay.
Where they claim that you go back, and this is where you find out how you used to be a pharaoh, basically.
Okay.
And really,
I don't think I'd be a pharaoh. I think I'd be the guy who has to like clean out the pharaoh's shit bowl or something. Is that what they had back then in Egypt? Shit bowls? Anyway, sorry.
I don't know
sorry,
exactly.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I underwent the therapy, and I found out that I was, I was a soldier in World War I. So
I could see that.
But
I could see that.
And anyway, no. What your mind is basically doing is it will generate anything. It's just going to go history based. It's going to could put you in a time or place, and that's if your therapist isn't giving you bullshit about where you're at.
Yeah. Well, and I can add. I've looked into this before. Being it's kind of that skeptic thing again, but they've done experiments with this where it's like it's just a weird it happens to be a weird coincidence that every single person who is doing these regression things, it always happens to be something they know about, right? Like no one ever goes, I was this thing in this time doing this. It's like it's always something that they know about in history.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So
implying that it's very vague as well.
It's very vague, and it'll always be something the character or the person happens to be learned on a little bit.
Okay.
Which means it is coming from their brain. It's not like if it really was from a past life, then you'd be seeing a lot of. And they also ask these people questions and try to get down to the bottom of it. Like, oh, if you really were, then what is this? What are you seeing here? And it doesn't match up with history.
Right.
They can never name specific years. It ends up being foggy. Like, there's no conclusive,
evidence. Yeah.
But it's like I said, it was kind of more that. I mean, is that still pretty common? Because that seemed like more of a early 2000s kind of new age thing that was going on.
It's still done, not as widely.
Wow.
I mainly wanted to make the distinction between past life and age regression because they get confused a lot. Mm-hmm. And with age regression, there's a lot more guidance because you're focusing on an issue.
Okay.
And whether or not that's the exact age that if it happened, your subconscious is working you through the trauma. Or whatever it thinks the source of the issue is.
Right.
And as someone that's been through a few of these sessions, I can say it does benefit you. Whether or not I was that age or that was the place I was at when it happened, I feel more like I've confronted it and that I'm actually going through some changes.
Right.
Usually with past life regression is you have no idea what issue you're working out. You're just going to find out who you used to be.
Right. You're not working on an actual issue in your life.
And you have the people that reinforce it by saying, oh, well, your soul just knew about this event and you have an affinity for it because it was you in a past life. And it's this circular reasoning where you can't, there's no way to prove it. You can disprove it, but there's no evidence.
Yeah.
You could talk about how, like he was saying, that things don't line up.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to make that distinction earlier on because it's something that's irritated me over the years or studying this stuff. It's like
I kind of have something interesting to say a little bit about the age regression thing too, where first of all, I think that that's like a key component of therapy generally is being able to confront traumatic issues and really deal with them. A lot of times, like even just writing out the situation. I mean, part of the trauma is a horrible event happened,
Right.
and your brain, but you didn't quite ever figure out. Like it's like your brain. The reason why we even have memory, um, in an evolution sense, is that it's our brains. Basically, it's basically the only reason we have memory is so that we don't fuck things up again. You know, which is why traumatic memories and horrible things that happen to be so burnt into our brain so bad. It's like, here's a bad situation, and your brain's trying to tell you that this shouldn't happen again. The way you work those situations out is that you, a lot of times, would write out, you know, you'd write out exactly what the situation was. How could you have fixed? How could it have gone better if you fixed it? What is, how did it go? That sort of thing. I can anyway. My point is the age regression thing. I can definitely see being super helpful because it can actually put you back into this place where you can kind of have to face that experience. But I was going to say kind of something interesting I was learning about was like in the 90s and 2000s, around that time period when the age regression stuff started getting really big, there was actually all these cases. This is where I think it's important that you get a good therapist and someone who knows what they're doing, because there's all these cases where all these therapists just assumed basically that everyone was molested. So they'd end up doing this age regression thing, and they'd end up being like, they'd basically convince their patients that they were molested at some point, and it would just like ruin. There's just this interesting kind of study I was reading about it, where it's like all these families were like destroyed around this era because it was the new thing in not so much hypnosis, but in the like in the therapy field, and everyone, it was like the new edgy thing, was like, oh my god, everyone must have been molested. So all these people were like, had this kind of bias where it's like, oh, they just assumed, well, then what happened? Well, are you sure that this person didn't do that? And then pretty soon the whole family's ruined because, oh my god, my uncle molested me. It's like it never actually happened.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
Well, it's always dangerous to go in with some sort of preconceived assumption.
yeah.
Too, it's like you may not know what that event was, but you're like, oh, you were molested, or you especially don't want to suggest that to somebody before they go under or while they're under, because when you're speaking directly to the subconscious mind, things can be very delicate. Regardless of, because we were talking about suggestions and what you can make people do. It's easier to make a person think something than to make them do something.
Right.
So it's easier whenever you're, especially with a regression, is you want them to tell you what the event is, because the event has some significance to them.
Right.
You don't want to like lead them into something you think, like you don't want to like start leading them in a certain direction. I guess it's like being a good actually I was gonna say it was like being a dungeon master in D&D, but I guess it's the opposite. Anyway. Well, I was just thinking like, oh, good D&D, like you shouldn't have to force them to follow the quest. They should naturally go to the quest. But I'm like, wait, that's sort of bad too. In the therapy setting, you'd want them to be completely like, you're basically just guiding the regression itself, not the actual events of what they're experiencing.
Yeah. You're talking about the hypnosis, not the one being hypnotized, correct? Is that what you're referring to? Okay, right.
And you can actually, a very popular one that I've seen lately is you do guide them through an exercise once they get there.
Yeah.
But it is only after they find the event, it's okay, now we're going to deal with it. You're going to confront this event.
That makes sense. Like
within this trance and within this safe space, which many of these processes involve them visualizing a safe space within their own mind, and they're there, and then they bring the issue up, they confront it, and then they move forward, and you bring them out of trance. give give them some reassuring suggestions, and then as they're coming out of it, or basically, this part of your life is over now because you've dealt with it.
So would it be something like you're as a therapist, right? Your hypnotherapy, you're like, okay, now take me to this time where you were really afraid or whatever, and then they kind of lay out the situation. It's like, okay, well, what's going on? And you say something like, well, I was in 6th grade and it was the first time in the boys' locker room, and they all were making fun of my penis because I'm uncircumcised, and they said it looked like it had a suction cup at the end, like some kind of weird sea creature. And one kid pulled out scissors, and they surrounded me. And then from there, you wouldn't imply any of that. They come up with that, and then you say, well, what do you do? How do you confront this fear?
You could do that. Typically, they're not going to tell you the whole story. They're just going to tell you where they're at and what they see and what they're perceiving.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was just like a random example. That was like totally something I read in a book or something. I don't know.
Okay, so they don't tell you everything, but they just tell you where you're, or you're just supposed to say where you're at, basically.
They can, but let's say I have somebody that they say, I never feel like I'm good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. I'm never good enough for this. I always feel it. It's like, okay, well, you after discussion of what they think the problem is,
Right.
you're going to take them under and you go, okay, I want you to go back to the first time you felt that, and what will happen is their subconscious will begin guiding them back, almost like time travel. They're going back in time mentally, and they will reach this period in time in their subconscious where they're like, and you ask them, okay, do you have it? And they go, yeah.
Okay.
It's like, and you say, okay, how old are you? Or you could say, okay, look at your hands. Are they adult hands? Are they kid hands? And they get a general idea of how old they are. Okay, well, what's going on around you?
Right.
And it's like, oh, there are people yelling, or there are people making fun of you. And the interesting thing is, while they're doing this, they're adopting the speech patterns, like I said earlier. And sometimes even doing a voice very similar to what they had back. Like I've heard 50-year-old women talk like 5-year-olds.
Whoa.
When they're under these trances. And it's like, okay, well, and then you would guide them through whatever that exercise was, either your brand or what you were trained to do to confront this issue to where it's not an issue anymore. And then you bring them back out of it. And when they've come out of it, through that exercise, their subconscious has resolved that problem.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that they may never have to go back and, if the issue is really deep and there's something you missed, or there's another completely different issue causing the same problem in their life, because it's usually a series, you can go back and do similar exercises as many times as you have to until you get everything cleared out. That's what some hypnotherapists call shit clearing sessions.
They call what?
Called what?
They call them shit clearing sessions.
Oh, okay. You were.
That's awesome.
Well, it's a technical term, specialized human induction techniques.
Oh.
You just make that up on the spot.
That's actually a David Snyder quip that he uses a lot, but.
Okay.
Do we have time, or do we want to talk a little about conversational hypnosis? Or?
I think
you said you.
Go ahead.
What was that?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Matt.
That was the last thing on my list, was conversational.
Okay, I say we go ahead and hit it. We should probably try to wrap up somewhat soon.
Okay. Well, conversational hypnosis is very similar to regular hypnosis, except the trances are lighter and it's more. A lot of instructors will call it kind of Jedi mind tricks almost. An example would be if I say, "Don't think of a snowstorm," you think of a snowstorm. That's a very simple. Or there's complex equivalencies like elephants are purple because sometimes dolphins have pink buttholes. That's probably not the best example. You notice what your mind does; it starts making associations.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And there's a lot of people teaching this actually for sales, because there's a lot of power words involved, and honestly, I could do a whole show on this in and of itself. Basically, what you're doing is you put somebody in a lighter trance almost, because a lot of it is the longer you keep talking and giving these conversation suggestions, the more you're kind of confusing their mind, because their mind is they're trying to process everything you're telling them. They start basically accepting things and becoming more suggestible to you. Now, it's not like Hollywood where you just start talking to somebody and they just freeze and they suddenly can't walk. You paralyze them. I remember a scene from Now You See Me, where I can't remember whose character it was.
Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson, yes. Woody Harrelson's character paralyzes this guy and extorts money out of him. Basically says he's going to reveal all this. Like, he read his mind.
Yeah.
But no, conversational I think is fun to play with, because I do it every once in a while when I'm out on the street. But
Well, I know. I think it's interesting to talk about because I was listening to a. Do you know the magician Darren Brown? He's a British magician.
Yes.
He's kind of been making some waves over the last few years because he does very interesting, like, social experiment type shows. He actually did a really great show on faith healing where he created a faith. It's so great because he basically creates a faith healer. He literally gets a random actor and creates a faith healer. And by the end of it, the guy is no different than any other faith healer, except that he was completely created, and that which I think is an interesting that someone did that. But anyway, I was listening to an interview with the guy, and he was talking about very simple conversational hypnosis, and he was talking about how a guy, I think he was out with his girlfriend or wife or something, and at a bar, and some guy tried to start trouble, like was going to started talking shit or saying something. And Darren Brown just said something to him where it was completely didn't make any sense. And it was as if he was in a conversation. He basically said, I can't remember what it was, but he said he just said to the guy all of a sudden, like, no, it's about 3 foot high. And the guy's like, what? He's like, the fence. Yeah, the fence behind my house. It's about 3 foot. And he said it totally changed the whole guy's, like, he was, this is what he was talking about, was conversational hypnosis, but he was talking about, like, you just throw these things in, and because it, like, switches the person's brain as to what they're thinking about. This guy was trying to start a fight with him, and then 2 seconds later, he's so confused, and he's just in a completely different state all of a sudden. Yeah. Instead of being aggressive, he's just confused.
Yeah, well, I say occasionally, when I'm doing it, I'll change my energy up, or I'll go from high to low or low to high, and start actually confusing people.
Yeah.
And they become suggestible. They just, oh, yeah, sure. Like, whatever I say to them can become a God's honest fact to them, because they're so out of it by that point.
Do you think... never mind, go ahead.
What was your question?
I was hoping you could avoid this. I was going to say, do you think Bill Cosby used any of these techniques?
Well, he might have used them in court. I didn't watch the trial, but actually, something very interesting.
Well, can you use these for evil? I guess is what I'm saying.
You can. You can influence people to do. Well, you're not going to get somebody to have sex with you. You get people to think certain things. For example, a lot of our politicians use conversational hypnosis at the time.
That's interesting. Like in their the way they avoid questions, basically.
For example, Ted Cruz, during his campaign, I remember very vividly listening to an interview with him that was about 45 minutes long. He didn't answer a single question. And most people came away from the interview thinking, wow, that was informative. But every time he was asked a question, he started a different subject.
Yeah.
And he just behaved as if he was answering. Donald Trump does a lot of what I call like affirmation type uh, conversational hypnosis, where he sits and he talks about something in just such a descriptive way that you're just like, oh yeah, this is totally like legit. And he's just a lot of his has to do with his pitch and his tone, the way he does things. But I mean,
Whoa.
I for example, something that I would do is something similar to listening to my words makes you realize that conversational hypnosis is very easy to learn. And you recognize now, as you continue to listen to my words, that conversational hypnosis is a very beneficial skill to have. And I can keep going through using these affirmative or associative words, and the longer I go on for it, you're going to check out eventually, and you're going to zone back in and you're going to look at me and go, oh yeah.
Oh.
But if I keep going long enough, you go just deep enough for me to give you a suggestion, for you to validate that suggestion. Uh, but it's not as influential, of course, as me putting you under completely. But that'll start going into your subconscious eventually, and I'm talking to a zombie for however long I keep doing that language pattern for.
Wow.
It's like listening to my voice makes you realize how great of a person I am, and it makes you recognize that you should give me this job. Um, and so forth and I don't know if anybody completely understood there were key words in that phrase that I was using that would realize and recognize will cause you to acknowledge what I'm saying to you.
It was the keywords put together, though, correct?
Yeah, or realize, recognize, affirm, um, words like that make you like almost as if you're understanding or recognizing something as a fact.
Okay.
Um, And if I just keep doing that speech pattern long enough, you just a bit will, or you might get bored and zone out and go into trance. So,
Wow.
but it's just kind of an odd backdoor into the subconscious mind that
Mm-hmm.
you kind of got to be careful because salesmen are starting to use this more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're trying to convince you to buy a product, which is why I'm glad I'm broke because I know how much of it's going on.
Huh.
But the good thing about it is, if you have the training and you recognize when someone's influencing you, it works. It has a lot lower percentage rate of working on you.
Wow.
Um, which is why a lot of times I'm able to observe people doing it as opposed to being influenced by this stuff. Um, I mean, there's words like there's also words like seductive and orgasmic or
Right.
you know
Dude, that's so weird. I just got an
yeah,
erection. Is that part of the
yeah.
hypnosis?
I would just give you a word example. That wasn't even a language pattern.
Oh. Okay. I'll
No,
cover up.
this is this is the most seductive weight loss program to date. You know,
You know what's so weird is I'm having deja vu right now. It's the weirdest deja vu ever.
well, think about it. You'll notice these out of place words that are totally excessive in advertising. They do it because it works, because people make that
Yeah, that's
association.
true.
I mean, there's, you can get hypnotized over text by reading through
Is
an ad
that?
copy.
Is this why? Do they do this? This is a whole nother bag of worms to open up. But do they do this in advertising then? Is that what you're saying? Like ads? Because I'm just starting to think the
Yeah,
language in yogurt commercials. Why are yogurt commercials always so sensual? So I was like, the sexy new Yoplait will have your toes curling and stuff like that. It's like what? I didn't think about it till now.
well,
They're associating Yoplait yogurt with orgasms, and I know it sounds like I'm trolling or doing a joke right now, but I'm not. Those commercials really are like that.
Yeah.
as you watch this yogurt commercial, you realize how sexy yogurt is. and you understand that this yogurt is some of the best yogurt in the world, and you recognize that if you eat this yogurt, you're going to become the sexiest bitch in the whole on the whole block.
I don't know if I want to be a sexy bitch now or I want yogurt, but it's kind of either way. It's kind of working.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's true. That's like,
Wow.
this is the most seductive strawberry yogurt you've ever tried.
dude, when we do the edit of this episode, at the very end, we need to just add on a Yoplait commercial because even though Evan's exaggerating, a lot of those yogurt commercials are like basically what he's doing right now.
I might do a bonus and just voice over a yogurt commercial.
Yeah, let's
Just-
do that. Let's do one of those and put it on the Three's a Podcast YouTube page.
Just use hypnotic language patterns. I don't know if people go out and buy Yoplait or what's the other one?
The one with the D, right?
Yeah,
What's the D one?
it's like some Greek yogurt or something like that.
Yeah,
Well, there's
York
there
yogurts.
because it's Danimals.
Yes.
Is like, well, that's a type of yogurt, but the brand is like something with a D, and then Danimals is like is it just like Danny yogurt or something?
So I don't know if I do Danimals because that's more for little kids. I don't think it's seductive.
Yeah, Danimals
Well,
is the answer to
No,
the
but
Yoplait. Huh?
that's what it is. So I was
Danos.
trying to think because Danimals is an offshoot kids version of a yogurt, but the yogurt's called Danon. There's Chobani. That's kind of sexy in and of itself.
Yeah, that
Just saying
sounds good. But
Well, man, I feel like I guess it's good that you call this introduction to hypnosis. I feel like we need to do a part 2 because we barely scratched the surface on anything, and it's already been well over an hour.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see it. I think we've covered everything. Anything else is going to be me going off on tangents and taking you down. I mean, because we could sit and talk about seductive commercials all night. But
Well, it's interesting. There's all these little areas you touched on that I'm like, I feel like we could talk about each area for an hour because I didn't. I mean, I guess that's such an obvious thing now that I'm thinking about it. Of course, they probably use hypnotic type language in ads.
I want to know what a hypnotic type language is. That's what I'm curious about.
What do you mean?
Like what the key words are and how to
Right.
use them and stuff like that. Yeah.
the three main ones I use are realize, recognize, and understand. Those are my go-to. And you use one of them, well, no more than one or two per sentence. But you use one each sentence, but you have to find a way to practice enough to keep it free-flowing to where you can keep using those three words and cycle them through.
Oh, okay.
Whoa. You know what? It's a weird. One thing I can say on the subject though that I think is interesting when I'm thinking about ads. It is most of the time, especially with food
Yes.
or clothing and stuff like that. A lot of ads do the way they describe is the same way. It's always describing how you feel. So it's like you'll feel ready for summer when you wear the new,
Mm-hmm.
summer horror collection, and it's just like, but it'll be like feel like a ball of sunshine, and
Yes.
it always says feel, you'll feel this way, and like you'll look this way. It's always like describing the person like in a weird first person kind of way almost.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and what's interesting is these words and language patterns fit so well into your everyday language that you will rarely get caught using them, and people will rarely catch them being used on them. And it's on your TV every day, and it's in every ad that you read for. Because there are people getting paid thousands to millions of dollars to write these ad copies and use these kind of language patterns to sell products and services, and politicians are using it for their campaigns. I didn't want to point out Donald Trump specifically because everybody does it.
Right.
And they all have their own form that they're using. And I think that there's a lot of, I think the politicians that don't use it are the ones that typically kind of get cast to the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
Either because they know how it works and they feel disingenuous about it, or because they just haven't taken the training before they go on the campaign trail. Hillary Clinton used it a lot.
I bet she did.
But her issue was she wasn't able to come off genuine. She was too forceful with how she was doing things.
Right. Okay.
What about that? But what about that video where she's chilling in Cedar Rapids?
That was it was the try hard stuff that she did that people consciously saw that made the whole thing feel awkward.
What about that interview where she went on that black podcast or whatever with all the black people, and when they ask her what's one thing she can't live without, she says hot sauce. She says she keeps it on her person at all times.
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah, and it's okay. Maybe she does really love hot sauce, and maybe she does keep Tabasco on her at all times. But to me, it just looked like the lowest level possible way of like just trying to relate to the people that were around her, because it came off very racist.
She pandered way too much.
That's
but
what. Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I don't want to get too deep.
Oh yeah, I just realized we're getting into politics. No, but to be fair, I'm kind of legitimately creeped out by everything you're saying, because I feel like it's the movie They Live, and you just handed me a pair of those X-ray glasses, and now I'm just like seeing like Obey everywhere.
Obey.
That's kind of part of this is actually how I ended up becoming a conspiracy theorist, is because I studied this and began recognizing it everywhere.
Jesus.
Subliminal messages and different. I'm just like, because by the time I was 15, I had about 3 years of study into this stuff, and I understood how subliminal messaging worked. I understood undertones, and I'm just like, there's so much subconscious stuff being done to people every day that and you can't recognize it all. Even if you're an expert in influence, you're not going to catch everything. But people are being manipulated every day on a subconscious level.
Right.
I'm not saying you put on your tinfoil hat and hide under your bed, but everybody in marketing pretty much knows exactly what they're doing.
Unless they don't.
And they make it look completely natural. Anytime you get an email for penis pills, take a look at the language that's used in the ad copy.
Okay.
Or look at the back of a DVD case to a movie they're trying to sell you, and you're gonna find certain keyword, and usually you have big words that are highlighted, like words like amazing or sexy or.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. This is like.
It's like, and think about that for a second. This film is amazing. Okay, very simple. Now you're probably going to picture in your mind amazing in big letters.
I kind of did.
Yeah, I did. All caps.
God damn it.
Yeah, because amazing, they changed the energy to this is amazing.
Okay.
And I can do that. I do it sarcastically with people a lot, but I can do that and look very genuine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to start influencing the way people think about whatever I'm talking about. If I do it in a genuine way and it look like a total prick, it's like, these mountains are just amazing, breathtaking.
Right.
People, somebody looks up and says, "Oh wow, it is." And,
I could see that. I could see you on an ad. I could imagine that. You saying that about the mountains.
It's like as you look over the mountains, everything just kind of opens up to you, and you have this breathtaking view of these beautiful snow-topped mountains.
Whoa.
And even then, as I'm saying that, you're picturing in your mind everything that I'm saying to you.
Right.
But
I can't tell. I keep thinking Evan's trying to hypnotize us now. So like everything he says, I'm like suspicious of. He's got a little shit-eating grin on his face too, like he knows it. I hate to cut things somewhat short, but we do have a little bit of an engagement tomorrow morning, so
that's totally fine.
Probably have to get off if we want to wrap up. Do some closing statements. I'll just say right off the bat, a lot of interesting areas, but this conspiracy theory that's not really a conspiracy theory of the ads and salesmen and all these people using these hypnosis techniques pretty kind of freaking me out a little bit.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is like the movie They Live.
They Live. Okay, is that where that
If you
shirt
know, you know,
Obey comes from?
no, that comes from some kind of art. But I think maybe it was inspired by the movie. But in the movie They Live, you've probably seen something from it before. But the idea in the movie is that basically aliens are amongst us and they're kind of controlling us in this weird way. So what happens is this guy finds these like glasses, these experimental glasses or whatever, where when he looks through the glasses, he sees the world how it really is. So he can see the aliens and all the ads on TV and everything, and it's basically just aliens just saying obey. It might have been a commentary on capitalism or something, like I don't know, like cronyism. I don't know.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, that's what I'm imagining now. Anytime I see a play a yogurt ad.
Obey.
Well, buy yogurt, but yeah.
Yeah. Um, are you finished with your closing statements,
Yeah,
Matt?
yeah.
Yeah. I really liked the. I guess this whole topic it was pretty informative. I didn't really even think about the words or the speech patterns or anything like that. I think the only time I've ever I guess connect it to hypnotism, but that would make sense. And then I didn't know that you could actually read the state of child likeness from hypnosis. I think that's pretty interesting because I saw that in
We're
Monk. And
definitely gonna have Evan hypnotize you live
yeah, we do need
on
to.
Hypnosis Part 4.
So yeah, I'll be down there next week, but I do have to ask since before we head out and everything, what is happening next week on Friday? Because I know I'm heading out there. I don't know if
I would say next week, if you didn't, well, we could do it Friday. If you're going to be out here, we could just do it.
okay.
We could just do it kind of like me and Evan are literally in the same room, which is typical for a podcast. So we could just
Okay.
do this next time.
Okay. Okay.
Or if we wanted to just do it Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
since we record the other podcast,
Right.
we could even just, while we have all the equipment set up, just sit down and do a threesome podcast and do one there. The only problem there is that it'd be like a major step up on the audio, and then we'd go back to the audio we were using before, so it'd be really weird. So they'd just be like, oh, I guess we wouldn't be able to live stream it either at the moment. In the future, we probably can do something like that, but
Okay. Yeah, because I was thinking I won't have
Yeah.
my computer there.
oh, that's the main issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, maybe we can postpone a podcast or
Yeah.
something.
we can totally we can postpone it. That's fine.
Yeah.
But okay. Well, I guess I will see you guys in 2 weeks, unless something happens, and we'll let you guys know on Instagram. Evan, did you have any last things that you wanted to say?
Oh, well, I guess I could plug myself again.
Absolutely.
If you want to get a hold of me for any coaching here in the near future, you can still reach me at radacoaching@yahoo.com, or you can go to my website at radamindfulness.com. And I would love to coach you. I will be doing hypnotherapy practice in the near future. I'm actually going through some training for that right now. And I guess in closing, as you listen to me, you realize this is the greatest podcast on earth, and you recognize you want to subscribe, and share this with all your friends. And you understand that when you do this, you will become the happiest person in the world. I know.
Oh, hell yeah. Fantastic. All right. All right, guys. I will see you guys in 2 weeks, and keep an eye on our Instagram for the updates. But y'all have fun. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.